And then in part two, we have this, it's like starting to fuse with his face. It's almost like pieces of shrapnel. Can you talk about the evolution of the look and the mask in particular?
So this movie and the first feature of the Jester were based on a short film called The Jester, which did quite well on YouTube. It was the first one was released in 2016, and in the first short, they basically literally had. I mean, we had a very tight budget on this, but on the short they had no budget, so they went to Party City and they found the Jester mask, and that's literally what they shot with. They shot with an off-the-shelf Jester mask. The second one and the first one, the first feature, and then the second feature, we had Jason Baker, who's a really well-known practical effects guru, who's worked on Terrifier, and he worked on Black Phone. He did the mask for Black Phone as well, so he's a great guy. He did all the practical effects. So the first one was kind of an evolution of the Party City mask, and then for the second one, the director Colin and Jason decided they wanted to kind of show the evolution of the Jester. And so when he pulls off that mask and it's kind of fused to his face, and there are pieces of the mask in his face, the idea was sort of like this is the next iteration of the Jester. And I think we've talked about kind of playing with the mask as it goes on, because I think there was a lot of conversation, do we keep the mask the same, do we change it? And I really liked kind of the direction that we went with, and the idea that we can play with the mask as the stories evolved. And the second movie was it wasn't really a sequel, it was more of a kind of a reimagining, because we had a little bit more budget, a little bit more time, so we kind of wanted to play with all of that.
It was also disgusting. It's almost like a little bit of a body horror element when he does a reveal and he rips it off his face and then you realize it's fused, and it's also like kind of small up on his face, so you get a lot of the forehead with the pieces of the shrapnel, but the face itself is like, it's disturbing because it's like small up front and you have the stringy hair kind of wisping about.
Yes, so as he sort of escapes from essentially his hellish prison and the mask kind of fuses off, as we all know, plastic kind of shrinks. So the concept is it just kind of like fused tightly onto his face.
I love it, it's gross. He's also a silent character, but he kind of speaks in this one. He finds ways of communicating in this one. What are some of the challenges of having a non-verbal character that wants to communicate? I mean, we obviously have silent killers, but Jason Voorhees isn't particularly articulate, I imagine. So when you have an articulate character who is silent, but you need to find a way to communicate, did Colin say there were any kind of frustrations as he's trying to figure out how to make that happen?
There were a lot of frustrations because the Jester does not talk in the first movie or in the short films. There were 3 short films, by the way. And I think what happened was because of the complexity of this particular story and the idea that Max had to team up with the Jester and they had to work together, Colin really, and Michael Sheffield, who plays the Jester, who's also the co-writer of the project, really were kind of struggled with how do we get the sort of the details of this story across. And so they use this device that the Jester can speak through the dead. So they felt like it's a little bit of a cheat, but they felt like they could kind of get away with it without actually having to change him entirely as a character.
I like when they have to do that though, because they've already established their sort of rules, so they kind of have to figure out how to break their own rules, but they did it. It was a clever way with the Ouija board, but obviously you can't give this whole giant lore and backstory that we're now getting through the Ouija board is going to be a little difficult. So the speaking through the dead, that was a nice way to be able to convey that in a way that is still interesting while you're watching it.
Yes, the only really sad part, and my wife who has not seen it, kept saying, "Is her mom really dead? Is her mom really dead? That can't be." But unfortunately, the only way for the Jester to speak and to kind of have that kind of tricky device at the end was the mom couldn't be with us.
I will say the only thing that kind of saves the fact that we get the reveal that her mom is actually dead is that her mom was kind of an asshole in the beginning, so it kind of made it okay.
And she finds a much happier family.
Yeah.
So
she's just shitting on this girl the whole time, and Max is just there like, I was just trying to be a part of the evening, sorry for existing. Like, the shorts somewhat explore this idea of the Jester enlisting a sidekick of sorts. We don't get that in the first movie, but we do get it here with Max. And it kind of creates this fun dynamic. There's also a weird moment where you kind of like the Jester, and we have like a really dark buddy comedy, and then you remember like, oh, he's actually horrible and trying to kill you.
But he's horrible, but he's horrible because he has to be horrible, right? He doesn't really, he made a bad choice, let's go with that.
Are you defending the Jester right now?
I'm not defending it, but you know, there is a backstory here. He did make a bad choice, and he's had to kind of work his way through that. So, but yeah, he's a bad dude.
He does have likable moments here, though. I was like, I would be